From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Hello and welcome to the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. This is the final episode of the season. Coach, it's one last wrap session here to tie things off and end things out. Coach, I am feeling for you guys and your team. I know it's only 2 mornings later, but have you found any perspective on Sunday's game yet, or is it still fresh?
Well, it's definitely not as fresh, Luke, as after it happened. Extremely disappointed, but also extremely proud. The scoreboard obviously will not define us, and the why is when you have exit meetings and final meetings with the players and you actually exchange the journey with them and just how you felt. It's during that time that you realize it's bigger than the scoreboard. Yes, we play to win championships, and that'll never change. And we're paid to win. But there is so much more to this than that. And to come up short, yes, it stings. I'm going to need quite a few more sunrises to get it out of the system. But how proud I am of this football team and everything that we've been through, the way that they responded when you turn that tape on, wow. Like, everybody probably drove home disappointed. But if you didn't see the effort and the physicality of the Hamilton Tiger Cats out there, you missed a good part of the game. So proud of them.
I know the answer to this, Coach. I think if nothing's changed, but do you have a player exit interview with each player of the team?
I've done that before, and then they've almost missed flights. Because, I've always got something to say.
Yeah.
I've tapered it down over the years, Luke, where you've been outside that door and you've probably come back the next day.
Yes.
To be honest with you. And
I know what it's like, yeah.
I give the position coaches first dibs, and then, of course, the coordinators next. But my door is always open. And as I was tardy to come on to this call, we got into a pretty good conversation. So I'm not going to say that everybody, but I will end up talking to everybody at some point, even if it means a Zoom call or something else. It's one of my favorite times because most of the time there's nothing talked about football.
Well, I can speak to my exit interview 2 years ago from this last November, and I was at the time. You could close your eyes and point anywhere at me, and there was an injury there, and I was mentally sort of really struggling with it. And turns out I at that time didn't know there was going to be no season the following year, but so I was really facing a lot of decisions to make, and you were incredibly gracious and it helped me think clearly in that time, even without giving me the answers, but rather a framework to think in. A lot of the veterans, I imagine, have been in your room over the last couple days. What do you say to a guy like Jeremiah or Simone at a time like this in their careers?
Sometimes it's silence, initially, and sometimes it's smiles. It just depends on the demeanor. Most of these, in Jeremiah's case, he's got family at home. He's got kids that don't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
There's always the disappointment, and it's different is what I'm trying to say is each player is different and their demeanor sometimes the conversation takes on a life of its own. And it's never a checklist here of of information that I need or that I want to help better myself or the organization. It's walk in, what's the vibe, what's on your mind, and you go from there. So when you say, what do I say to those guys? It's different every time. And I don't have anything. Sometimes I don't talk a lot. Sometimes I don't shut up. It's however the kite is in the wind, that's kind of where we go.
Can you think back to the locker room after this game? And I've been in that 3 times in a lost championship locker room, and it's not a great life experience. What did you say to to this team?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I sat on the floor. Everybody was seated, and I'm very seldom at a loss for words, as you know. And I just sat on the floor with them, and we just kind of sat there for a second. It was quiet, was nothing planned. I just truly didn't know what to say, because I generally would like to give them something to take the sting away. But I've sat in that seat as a player, and oftentimes players don't want to hear anything, and sometimes they want to hear something. And I truly didn't know what to say, because it was a feeling that was going on in the room. And I slowly got to a knee, and obviously I won't get into the details of everything, but I did let them know that I was extremely proud of them, that they did what we asked. They played their heart out. And I told them that I told them I loved them. Each one of them. And as you know, we do what we call touch them up, just like we do after competition drills. And that's something that's never changed. That's, as long as I'm here, we'll do that. And I want to make sure everybody touched everybody in that room. And, if they felt compelled to do so, tell them that they love them, because really that's what it is. It's a word that's not thrown around very, very much in football, but when you are a family, there's nothing wrong with that.
I was lucky enough to see some of the guys after the game with the Ticat family, and that word was used a lot. Just, I love you, man. And I just had my hand on Mike Daly's shoulder and just thinking, you don't know what to say, but there's also not a feeling like you should say something. It's just quietness. And I got to tell you, I cannot believe, I told Jenna before the game, first of all, it was my first ever Ticats game from the stands. We didn't do the broadcast because the rights holders were elsewhere, so I had no idea what I was going to feel like. And it was so hard. I stood there with Jenna, and Peter Diakowski comes up behind us as the fans are exiting the stadium, and he just stood there with his arms around us, the whole fraternity felt that in a sense, but of course never like a player. I will say Andy Fantuz, I mean, talk about a Ticat guy, about a CFL guy. I saw this was hours and hours after the game, and he goes, this feels worse than 2014 to me. and I said, in a sense, it caught me off guard. And then in a sense, I thought, man, there is something different about it. And you and I, for the 3 previous Grey Cups that Hamilton was a part of, we were together. Can you compare it all, Sunday's game, to those 3 most recent Hamilton Grey Cups?
Let me just start with your first comments there. That's awesome. I mean, you just know how much everybody felt, and how much it just shows you how much everybody wanted it. They just felt a part of it, even though it was from a distance,
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about Fantuz and yourself and Peter and Filer, and we saw Jamal Johnson and Courtney Stephen, and
right.
I don't want to name, because then you're leaving 30 out.
Yeah.
But even alumni, like, this has a college feel, like the pride and tradition of Hamilton Tiger Cat football is special. And I'm not saying more than anything else. I'm just talking about us. And especially recently, in recent history, the history before, of course, but that's the tradition and the pride. And so I think it's really neat that it hurt a lot. It hurt people because they care. As far as the comparison, I think every year is different. And I think the biggest would be, maybe in 2013, we surprised a lot of people playing at Guelph, beating a Montreal team that, even though it was a home game, they might have been the better team. And then going to Toronto. And then, we got a little overwhelmed by Saskatchewan in their home stadium. But in 2014, I think we knew we belonged.
Mm-hmm.
And handled our business, right? And then we're in it to the end, and everybody knows how that ended, an unfortunate penalty.
Yeah.
And then, we had some, the other ones, were obviously special too. I think the biggest difference, Luke, is just this one was at home, and it just was a different feeling. And I'm not saying that it was more important or least important, because losing feels terrible. And in football, when you're playing elimination football, it's tough. And just the stress and the pressure on the coaches and the organization when you're hosting something, it's always in the back of people's minds. But if you can't get an X by your name, you will have no chance. And once we got the X by our name, just with the roller coaster ride that we were on, it was special. And I think this one hurts. And the only reason I'm not saying more in comparison is just because it's fresh. I think fresh always is going to hurt more. But I can tell you that I didn't feel real great in 14. I didn't feel elated or that we were there competing. We were there to win.
Mm-hmm.
And we had opportunities. And we had opportunities this game. We were lining up to win a football game. I thought the ball to Ackland, it was almost like I've kind of termed it like a walk-off home run.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to go down there and for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And what a football game, and just extremely disappointed for the city and everybody else. But that's what happens in sports.
We've talked all season. Well, we've always talked that the game comes down to a handful of plays. What's stuck in your mind right now? Is there a few plays that are the ones that you can't that you're having trouble getting over?
Not really. I really don't have any regrets, because at the end of the day, we're in a position to win, and that's the goal. It doesn't mean if it's by 1 point or 20 points, you want to be in a position to win, and we were. So every decision up to that point led us to that spot, and that's not that's all three phases, right? Contributed to that last drive, right? And what else it's kind of that game that you're saying, okay, who's going to have the ball last?
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought there was a big game within the game going on. Now that both teams played it well when it came to the win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there plays that you want back? But when I found when you do that, Luke, you're searching for a perfect game. And that doesn't exist. So if, you get those other plays back, then you're going to, another one may slip.
Right.
So
right.
The perfect game hasn't been played. It's the team that makes the least amount of mistakes generally has the better opportunity to win. And because of the play of all three phases, we had an opportunity to win. And that's not just an offensive thing, right? There was chances in defense and there was chances in special teams to contribute to it. But at the end of the day, with under a minute to go, the Hamilton Tiger Cats as a football team had a chance, and we even had a chance in overtime, right? So,
right. One of the part of this game and part of the heartbreak, really is in my mind at the quarterback position, because from the start of the season, you and your staff and Dane and Jeremiah were saying that it'll take them both. It might take both. We almost witnessed what would have been probably the most epic quarterback story in CFL history. If that change would have come out on top for the Ticats. I mean, could you ever have imagined that idea of needing both of them? They're both going to have to play. They're both going to have to be their best. Could you ever have seen that coming, being so tangible at the end of this year?
No, I'd be lying to you, Luke. Like, right? It's like we did think that. But more so that, it's most quarterbacks don't go wire to wire, or they're both playing so well that both are going to deserve playing time. By no means did we say we're going to come into the season with a 2-quarterback system, but we knew it was a possibility because of how good they are. They're both starters in this league, but what a credit to them that they even signed back here knowing that somebody was going to get disappointed. Somebody was going to be named a starter. and somebody wasn't. And they knew that and still signed up. And that's special. And that's why you got the same answers all year from Dane and from myself and even Tommy, is that, well, come on, do they really get along? That can't be. Well, do you think they would have signed here if they didn't get along? That's a credit. That's a credit to them. And it just so happened that we were actually wrong. We needed 3. So we needed 3. So we missed it by 1.
Yeah.
David came in and did a great job and
Yeah.
really added to the quarterback room. He's a great teammate.
He did. And I mean, to be a starter in the East Final and then to say, you know what, you're not going to get the start for the Grey Cup, emotionally that's a lot. And everybody could see Jeremiah giving high fives in the end zone and keeping it together. But that a guy like that wants to be starting, but then to very quickly be called on again and to play at the level that he did, which was 20 of 25 with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, it could have been, it would have been, I have to think, one of the greatest quarterback stories of all time for the league. I mean, we're going into an off season. Do you see any chance of this happening again? I mean, will these guys be quarterbacks on the same team?
Well, I think we'd be extremely fortunate if that situation ever happens. I think you have to be realistic and know that it's not likely to happen. It just isn't common, or I think everybody would do it. I think anybody that could have 2 players that they feel are starters, on their game day roster, they would do that versus 1 starter and 1 guy that they hope can develop into one day. So I'm always going to be optimistic and think that there's a chance, but I'm also realistic to know that they've both probably deserve the opportunity to run their own show. And I'm just grateful that they signed up, because they were obviously a huge reason why we were here, and just the way they handled the media and the expectations. And they both came back from injuries, and then we had to make another decision when they're both healthy. It's like they had to go through it twice. Mm-hmm. And true professionals and great people.
Yeah. I think incredibly highly about both of them, and I just hope that we have a chance to see both of them again next year, in whatever capacity that is. Coach, as the head guy, summarize the season for me. What did you learn? What do you take away from your 2021 Ticat team?
I just take away how just resilient they are and how they really overcame adversity, and this coaching staff worked tirelessly. The whole organization did, top to bottom. It was so different than 19, and they had to keep trying to live up to that and talk about how they're supposed to build on that. And we're just a different football team with a lot of familiar faces, but a lot of brand new faces. And to see the new crop come in and buy in and learn a different way. For example, the rookies in 19, they probably thought it was easy. You just go 15-3 and you get the bye and you win and you're in. Well, those same people from 19, the rookies from 19, come in 20 and say, whoa, this is what it's like to grind. And for the rookies and the first-year players this year is like, whoa. But there was enough of the other people that have been around to say, stay the course. So that's what I mean by defining resiliency and overcoming adversity. And that really, when you come together and you hold each other accountable, you can really achieve anything. You always have to execute in the game of football. You've got to execute. That's the name of the game. But it taught me a ton as a coach of just how, if you have the right people and they have the buy-in, you really can accomplish anything. So super proud of everybody, happy for everybody, disappointed in the final game, but taking with me way more positives than negatives this season.
I look back over my last 8 years of interacting with the team, and this week in Hamilton, man, I learned even more about Hamilton. I learned more about the Ticats, the amount of alumni who I sort of have a brotherhood with now. I mean, I was just in a Ticat nebulous for like 6 days. And when you're not a player, we didn't shut it down till 2:30, 5 nights in a row, just out with events and fans and former teammates and then former Ticats from before my time. And I have just a hopeful feeling about the Ticat future. There is such an energy behind the team, but it takes some time to get over this. And for four out of the last 8 Grey Cups to be a part of and to lose them all is a hard thing for all Ticat nation to take on. But sure enough, just to let the dust settle and to get back at it, obviously much needed. I hope that you can get away from football as these weeks progress. What is next on the docket for you?
Well, first, just let me say that just thank you to all the fans. Like, unbelievable. All year long, of course. But like I said, the pride and tradition here of Hamilton Tiger Cat football is beyond alive and well. But I'll tell you this, when I have been in these Grey Cups, and we've been in quite a few of them together, you almost always see the Calgary section, the green section over there. There's the Sask. There's the, Ottawa. There's whatever. When I looked up there, I wondered if anybody else came but Hamilton fans. It was unreal, and not unreal from the standpoint that I actually witnessed it. It was special. What an amazing thing for the players to enjoy and the whole organization. So just thanks to the city of Hamilton and everybody who put in all the tireless work, everybody who will never get credit. Like that doesn't just get pulled off. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. As far as me, hey, I'm a Ticat until I'm not, right? That's where I'm at. I'm where my feet are planted. And I'm just grateful and excited to be here with this opportunity. The thing I'm probably looking most forward to is a little bit of time away. We've been doing football. Everybody's been through a lot. Everybody's going through something, regardless of how they look on the outside. It's been a tough year globally, let alone locally, for everybody. And I think everybody needs some time away. So if I can ever find a way to get to some turquoise or light blue water and let your toes get in the sand for a second, I wouldn't mind partaking in that. So I think that's what's next for me.
Yeah, get somewhere and take your mask off, right?
How about that?
Yeah. Well, Coach, you're a legend. You're a Hall of Famer, man, and you're a great Ticat. Thank you for your time this year for the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. It has been awesome for me to be able to talk with you each week about football and about football life. And Coach, enjoy some time. I hope all the best for you and your team as you wrap up in the facilities. I know that's an emotional time of year and can be a lot of good and bad in these last days. So enjoy what you can and hit the ground running. All the best to you and your family, Coach.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you and everybody listening. And I just want to say you did a great job, Luke. It's been fun. I'll look forward to next year, buddy.
You got it.
The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Like, subscribe, and find out what Coach is thinking every Tuesday.